Okay, so it's 8:30. Let's get started. Thanks for being on this live call about managing worry, talking about worry and stress and some strategies for managing worry, some strategies for reclaiming our lives, getting out from under the weight of worry and stress, and being able to actually enjoy life and our relationships and the work that we do and all that. My name is Alici Tremaine. I'm a write for 40 Days Fuller, which is a program that I created for people like me who crave joy and meaning and connection in life, but who sometimes can get bogged down with the daily stuff of life, the busyness, the all the stuff that we end up reacting to, and then aren't able to actually access or feel that experience the joy and meaning and connection that we so need in life. And worry and stress, really, worry is really a big part of that. Is one of the things that really can steal our joy and can really make life seem overwhelming and keep us from enjoying. I feel like I'm saying that a lot, but that's really what it does. It steals our joy from for life because we're so consumed with worry. So I know that it's something that everybody experiences every now and then. And for me, even though I've always been a pretty optimistic kind of person, worry, my sense of worry and stress has really increased ever since I joined what sometimes is called the sandwich generation, which is caring for small children or for any age really. So for me, I have two sons who are 9 and 5 years old. And as a parent, if you have kids, it seems like there's always worry. You're constantly worried about, are they healthy? Are they happy? Are they developing well academically, socially, spiritually? Are you making the right decisions as a parent? Are they good friends? Are they good people? Are they being bullied? Or are they bullying someone? Are they overstimulated? Are they understimulated? Are they safe? There's a barrage of things that we worry about, excuse me, as a parent all the time. And it seems like it never stops, whatever age they're at. And then at the same time, as we are getting older, our parents are getting older. And then I start worrying about my parents too. And in my situation, for the past several years, my dad has been very seriously ill. And for the past couple of years, my sisters and I have been responsible for managing his entire care and from overseas. So that has been a major source of stress and worry for me. And I have found, and I know that when I give into that worry, when I let it take over, that it can really keep me up at night. It can consume my thoughts. And I'm just talking about my kids and my parents right now. You throw in worry about our own health, our finances, our work, the work that we do, our personal relationships, our own spiritual development. There's all these responsibilities, all these commitments that we make. So it can really become overwhelming, and it can take all of our energy just worrying about that. And what I was meaning by it takes away our joy for life and for relationships is that when you think about your parents or your kids and you have all this worry attached to it, that relationship is consumed with worry and you're not able to really enjoy it anymore. But I know that if we are able to reframe our thoughts a little, if we're able to attend to what's going on in our bodies and our thoughts and spiritually, also that we can have that peace and that joy again, and being able to enjoy the gifts that are our relationships, our own lives, our own bodies, the present moment. And as I was thinking about today, talking about worry and how to do that, I realized that it all really boils down to one thing. It's really just about one thing that we're able to do in different ways. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what worry is, what it does, how to attend to it mentally, with your thoughts, physically as well, and spiritually in that one thing. And then I'm going to guide you through a 10-minute guided meditation. If you've never tried it, it's just a guided imagery meditation, really a relaxation exercise. And then I have a couple of things that I want to give you, a couple of resources to give you after that. And if you have any questions or comments, you can put them in the chat box. And then after the meditation, I'll read some of that too. Okay, so what is worry? Worry is really the fixation, that repetitive pattern of negative thoughts, fixation, rumination of these negative thoughts that are either dread about the future, worrying about something that may happen, some situations that perhaps you feel like you haven't anticipated everything. Maybe there's something that you don't even know that's looming out there, or some very specific things that you're worried about, but you keep replaying it in your mind constantly, or something that's happened in the past. So should I have done this or that? What if I had done this differently? Or did I say the right thing? What are they thinking about me now? Or what is going on, since I've done that? And that really, that rumination and that repetitiveness that keeps you stuck in that pattern of worry. And what it does, we've already talked about how it steals our joy from life and from relationships. And it has these effects on our bodies as well. So as we're worrying repeatedly, we have this chronic worry, we're creating all this stress response in our bodies, all these stress hormones, but also there's anxiety, right, that goes along with that. So in addition to keeping you awake, because your mind's going overboard, overdrive when you're trying to sleep, it can take a lot of energy mentally and physically. It can have some symptoms in your body, even skin rashes or digestive symptoms or difficulty eating, or a lot of different ways that people experience stress and worry and anxiety in their bodies. And so it takes some reframing in that mind, because it is a thought. It starts with that thought pattern, but it also has a physical component to it, which is why I wanted to address it in both ways, and emotionally and spiritually as well. But it all comes down to one thing. And that one thing is being able to ground ourselves in the present moment. Because think about it, if you're worried about something that's happened, that might happen, it's taking you to some place in the future that's not happened yet. If you're worried about something that happened already, or that's been done, or that you're worried about something that's happened in the past, you're also not in the present. So it's keeping you from enjoying what's right in front of you, or from reacting and responding to what is happening in front of you. It's keeping you either stuck in the past or in the future that may or may not happen. So we as humans have this immense capacity of imagination, immense great ability to anticipate things and to create these different scenarios in our minds, be really creative with dreams, and we can create all kinds of possibilities, and it can be wonderful. But we can also use that sometimes to imagine these worst case scenarios, or to think that everything terrible that we've heard about happening to other people might also happen to us, and we can create these scenarios in our minds that we keep replaying in our minds that are not helpful to us, and that keep us in that worry, stuck in that worry pattern, which is why somebody has said that worry is a misuse of imagination. So when worry creeps up, and we start getting those worried thoughts, and you get into that pattern, whether it is about the future or about the past or about yourself or anything like that, that gets your anxiety up and just takes, just seems like it takes over your mind, your whole mind. The first thing to do is simply to get some distance from your thoughts, and to acknowledge that you were simply having a worried thought. That's your imagination running. It's something you're creating in your mind, not necessarily reality, because most of the time what we're worried about doesn't actually correspond to reality. So it's just a matter of acknowledging that, okay, I am having a worried thought. Here I go again. There's my mind. Thank you for that lovely image. And it's all imagination. It's all in my mind. May or may not be true. We don't have to believe our thoughts, right? There's just thoughts. So we can, the very first thing is just to acknowledge it's a thought, it's my imagination, and I can use my imagination in so many other ways. But then as we are able to acknowledge that we're having a worried thought, that we're getting into that repetitive pattern of negative thoughts and feelings, then we can start grounding ourselves in the present. And it's really, I think a lot of times people feel like it's their responsibility to worry. They feel like if I'm a parent, or if I have a high stakes job, or I'm responsible for this or that if I don't worry about it, it's almost like they feel guilty if they don't worry. They feel like it's their duty or their responsibility to worry about it. But if you really think about that proposition that we have to worry about things, it doesn't make any sense, because as you're worrying about something, if it's a problem that you can solve and you're problem solving, and you're trying to come up with creative solutions, that's one thing. But if you're constantly worrying about something that may or may not happen, or something that's already happened, and you're thinking about what if this, what if that, how is that really helping or preventing anything from happening, right? We can't really prevent bad things from happening just by worrying about it. In fact, Jesus said something about that. He said, how many of you can add a single hour to your life just by worrying about it? And if you can't do that, then why worry? So I think sometimes think that if we worry enough, that means that we care. And sometimes we think that if we worry enough, then that means that if that bad thing does happen, it won't hurt us as much. That maybe we'll suffer less because we'll be prepared, or it'll soften the blunt a little bit because we've already played it in our minds. But it's really not true, because if something happens that we anticipate is going to hurt us, it's not going to hurt us any less just because we thought it might happen. In fact, it's just going to hurt us before and after. So you suffer in anticipation, have that anticipation that something might happen, or it may, people may be thinking this or that, or I may not be doing the right thing, or whatever it is that people get stuck worrying about. You suffer with that anticipation, and then when it does happen, if something does happen, then you suffer again because it's happened. And it doesn't keep that thing from happening just by worrying about it. And at the same time, if you're worrying about something that you don't have control over in the present, or something that's already happened in the past, by worrying about it, you are not fixing it just by worrying about it. So worrying really doesn't help anything. It doesn't make you a more caring person because you're worrying. All it does is it's taking your energy from actually investing in the problem solving and being creative to do something with whatever it is, the reality that is causing you to worry, or from enjoying something because you're worried that it may be taken away. So we can discredit with our minds, we can discredit when those thoughts come, to say, that's not helpful, that's my imagination. And then remember that the present moment is what's going to help us reclaim ourselves from the worry. So I remember when I had my first child and I brought him home from the hospital, that very first night, I was a mess because I was having all these feelings being a first-time mom. And I remember holding him that night, and we had a little rocking chair. And I was rocking him and holding him, and all of a sudden, I was just filled with this sense of worry about, am I going to be able to keep this child safe? What kinds of terrible things is this child going to experience in his life? I know that everybody has suffering at some point. So what kinds of things is he going to experience? How can I protect him? Am I going to be a good mom? So all this worry started creeping up on me, and I started crying. And what happened is that all that worry about what might happen to my child later on was really keeping me from enjoying this moment with my child, the fact that I was at that time in a safe house. Nothing was happening to my child at that time. In fact, he was in my arms. He was perfectly safe. He was perfectly healthy. And I missed on having that peaceful, joyful moment of enjoying that time with my son, because I was worrying about later on what might happen to him. And that is what grounding yourself in the present moment is able to do for you, is that you are able to enjoy what's right in front of you, because you're not letting your mind run away with you to what losses you might experience in the future or what has already happened in the past. And it happens when you ground yourself in the moment. You are able to enjoy the good things that are happening. So, say if I'm worried about my parents, and I attach worry to that relationship, I'm worried about what might happen to them, and if their health deteriorates, or what adaptations we're going to have to do in the future. How am I enjoying the time that I have with them right now if all my thoughts about them are consumed with that worry? So it helps you with enjoying the good things that we do have. But it also helps us, even if the reality is difficult to acknowledge. So sometimes we're worried about things in the past because we're really having a hard time acknowledging the reality. So say I lost my job and I'm having a really hard time coping with that. So all I'm doing is worrying about what should I have done differently. I should have gone to that course. I should have taken that course, or I shouldn't have trusted that person, or this or that. And you're consumed with that worry and worry about what you did and you didn't do. And what I'm not doing is I'm not acknowledging that this has happened. It is a loss. And now what do I do now? It's not so by not acknowledging what's right in front of me, I'm not able to come up with a new identity, a new way of integrating my life to look at my next steps and go forward. So even if the reality is difficult to acknowledge, by grounding ourselves in the present moment is really what's going to save us from worry, and is going to open the doors for us to have joy again, and meaning and connection. Okay, so that's what worry does with your mind and with your thought patterns. And you can acknowledge it, you can not believe it, not necessarily believe it, understand that it is something your mind is creating for you, and you can bring yourself back to the moment. And that may happen several times a day. As the worry comes in, you acknowledge it, and you come back to the present moment. And you do that. It is a choice. It's a cognitive choice to come back to the moment, but it's also a physical thing. So we talked about how the worry impacts you physically. It has that stress response in your body, and it does, keep you from sleeping, which is a huge thing, because one thing that is really helpful to cope with stress and worry is sleep and rest. And that's one of the things that it takes from you. So because it is physical, there are ways that we can ground ourselves in the moment physically as well. So one thing that is a good way to bring yourself to the moment, and it's quick and easy, and you probably have heard this and done this before, so it's not anything new, but it's a way to do it deliberately, ground yourself in the moment, is to focus on your breath. Because as you think about your breath is happening right now. It's happening in this moment. It's happening inside of you. So as you're feeling, especially if you're getting really anxious, and anxiety keeps you from really taking a breath sometimes. You can hold your breath or take some shallow breaths. So especially if you're getting anxious thoughts or worried thoughts, that negative pattern, to start just focusing on the breath. And if people are in a really tough time of grief and worry, sometimes that's all they can do, is just to focus on the breath. Because as you go in and take a breath in, and then start to just see if you can sense the movement of that breath inside your body, how it feels going in your nostrils, how it feels going inside your body, how it moves your body, how your belly moves, your chest moves, and then it comes out of your body. It starts to bring you to the present moment. into your body, and you will start to calm down, and you will start to settle yourself, your mind and your body, and start being in the present moment. So that is one way to immediately bring yourself to the present moment. Prayer is helpful to a lot of people, but what I've found too sometimes, with not personally and also with other people, is that sometimes we use prayer to continue our repetitive worried thoughts, because we start venting about things, and all we're doing is repeating what our mind has been saying to us. So we start thinking about the things that we want God to prevent for us, and so we then start putting all these words and these negative thoughts that we've created in the prayer. Or sometimes it's not really, we don't really know how to pray. So one prayer that's a different way of praying, that goes along with grounding yourself in the moment and with your breath, is called a centering prayer. In a centering prayer, there's a couple different ways to do it. It can be just one word, or it can be a combination of words, but it's called centering, or it's called the prayer of the heart, or I think it might be called a breath prayer. I'm not sure. But what it does is it matches the word that you're using, or words, with your breath. So some people use centering prayer in a way, like with the in breath, thinking about the name that you have for God, or a name of God that you find meaningful, that you relate to, on the in breath. And then on the out breath, a request or something that you feel that you need from God. Sometimes people use scriptural words for that. So one very common or famous centering prayer is, Son of David, have mercy on me. So it's a combination of several words in that breath, but it can be even shorter than that. It can be, Jesus, save me. I don't know, whatever it is that works for you, whatever you feel like you need it. One that I like to use sometimes is, as in the in breath, saying peace, be still. On the out breath, peace, be still. And that's a way to do a centering prayer as well. And the nice thing about the centering prayer is that as you keep praying those words with your breath, you are doing a couple of things. You are, again, grounding yourself in the moment. You are slowing down your breath and your heart rate, so you're bringing your stress response down. But also you are training your body and your spirit, and it starts to become part of you the more you do it. So the next time that you find yourself in a situation where you start to worry or feel anxious or respond to something, a lot of times things happen around us, and we respond to those things because it reminds us of another situation. So we're actually responding to something else. Am I making sense? Like you overreact to something because you're really responding to this cumulative things in the past, or something else that happened that reminds you of. So we have all these reactions. So as you practice the centering prayer, as things happen around us that bring this stress up and that worry to your mind, sometimes it automatically, your body and you automatically start doing the centering prayer before you even deliberately or consciously start thinking about it. It just comes back to you. It's almost like second nature. So as you practice the centering prayer, as you start to feel worried, it becomes just a natural way of coping with that stress response. So focusing on the breath, centering prayer is an example of that. And then the other way that physically you can ground yourself in the moment and relieve that worry and that stress is by focusing on your senses. So your sense of smell, your sense of sight, hearing, touch, taste even. So one way is to do something physical. And very often our bodies do need a release valve for that stress. So whether it is just going out for a walk, start moving our bodies, seeing what's around us, taking in sights, especially if you're able to go out in nature, taking in the sights of what's around you. That's a way to bring you to the moment, but also to do something physical, and some kind of exercise or something that moves you. Dancing spontaneously to a song, or putting in a song that moves you even spiritually, like praise and worship, just move, letting your body move somehow, is a way to bring you back to that moment, and also have an expression for all those stress hormones and everything that's going on with you. And I know, as I say, you know, do something physical with your body, get a massage, do a relaxation exercise that we're going to do today. As I say those things, people often say, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. But we are putting all this stress and worry in our bodies every day, sometimes several times a day. So we need to build in a release valve every day. We need to release some way to be able to respond physically to that. So doing something physical is a way to do it. But also just simply by, even if you're still, to be aware of your senses is a way to bring you, to ground you in the moment. So if you're sitting, to start noticing, how does your body feel sitting on that chair? And can you let go of the stress that you're holding in your body and letting the chair support your body? And right now, try this. You know, you might not even have been aware of like your own body, but you may be holding more weight, putting more weight on one side than the other of your body. So you can just try to like let your weight sink down into the chair and be evenly distributed among your both sides of your body. And then just scan your body and see if there's any tension that you're holding on to, and just letting it release that tension. And see, and just by noticing how your body feels in that chair is a way to bring you straight here to the here and now, to the present moment, and to release some of that stress. And then also to notice, what do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you taste right now is a way to bring you to the present moment. This is really helpful, especially at bedtime, because bedtime is a time when people tend to really worry and start to ruminating about things. And I guess the reason is because it's that it may be the only time in the whole day where you're really truly alone with your thoughts. There's no distractions anymore. So you're not busy doing an activity. There's, you know, people aren't coming and going around you, or the TV isn't on. Well, you may sleep with the TV on, but you're not, you know, when you try to go to sleep instead of watching things. And then you get alone with your thoughts, and all these ruminations can start coming again. And then you start playing all these things in your mind about what happened during the day that you wish you hadn't done differently, or had gone a different way. Or then you start thinking about your to-do list or what's happening tomorrow, and it can keep you awake. To be able to focus on the present moment and using your senses and your breath at bedtime, that can be really helpful for you to stop that pattern of rumination and start to relax enough to go to sleep. That's something that I use often because I'm a very light sleeper. And so at night, if somebody makes some noise or something wakes me up, I often have to engage some of that strategy so I can go back to sleep. I'm going to use my child as an example again, my oldest, my 9-year-old. Some time ago at bedtime, when I was the one putting him to bed, he started getting into this pattern of getting all his angst, all these existential questions, and everything bad that happened during the day or even way past, and having all these big questions, and he would be very distraught and talking about it. And I felt like as a mom that I needed, well, he's bringing all this important stuff to me, so I need to respond appropriately, and was trying to, you know, be a good supportive listener. But it was getting to be very frustrating for both of us because it wasn't really helping, it wasn't resolving. And what it was doing was, it was just making him upset at bedtime, and he was not going to sleep on time because we were just talking for a long time. And finally, my husband Todd just, you know, he started saying, he doesn't do that to me because I don't really start engaging him in that conversation. And he said, I don't know that bedtime is the best time to go about it. So we started telling him, okay, when you start talking about all these things, everything bad that happened today and blah, 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 I want to hear about it, but not right now. Bedtime is time to go to sleep. It's time to rest. tomorrow at a different time, we'll sit down and we'll talk about all of this, or all these questions, or all this self-doubt and fears that you've got. But right now is not the time. And that has really helped our bedtime. Like, he has now, bedtime is a lot more peaceful. It's not frustrating anymore. He's not upset anymore, and he goes to sleep and actually gets rest. And so sometimes that's what you've got to do to yourself, to your mind. You got to parent your own mind and say, hey, I see you, the worried part of me. I see you. I get that you're worried about this. I acknowledge it. I'm going to deal with it tomorrow at a more appropriate time. But right now it's time to go to sleep. It's time to rest. And it is not the time to be ruminating. So I'm going to focus on the present moment. So what I like to do is start to feel how your body feels in your bed, the bed supporting your weight, just like I just asked you to do with your chair. How does the blanket feel on your skin? What do you hear around you? And what can you smell even? Or just start focusing on your breath so you can go to sleep. And sometimes imagery can really help with that too. So you can, for instance, imagine a really peaceful place and start to engage your senses in that place that you're imagining. So say you imagine the beach. You can start imagining or thinking about what would it feel like to put your toes in the wet sand and to feel those little waves crashing on your feet. And what would the sounds of the waves be like? What would you hear? What would you see? What would the temperature be on your skin? And what would the sky look like? And what kind of birds are you listening to? And so do you see how you engage all these senses in that imagery? Another imagery that sometimes people use at bedtime is to imagine that as the worried thoughts come in, that they're putting those thoughts on a cloud and they're just watching the clouds go away. Or that they're putting all these worried thoughts in an envelope to be addressed, or to be attended to at a different time, and they're filing them for later. Something that I do sometimes is I imagine that I am writing on different pieces of paper one word that is associated with an issue that I'm worried about. So I'll write different things, and I'll put them in a jar in my imagination. And I'll imagine that I'm handing them to God, and I'm saying, here, these are all the things that I'm worried about, that I'm asking for an answer, that I need an answer for. Can you please take care of this so I can go to sleep? And not because I know that ruminating and worrying about it is not going to help. So speaking of imagery, I want to lead you through a 10-minute imagery exercise. And I don't know if you all have ever done it before. Write down there on the chat if you've ever done guided imagery. Like if you've done it yourself, or if you've gone through a guided imagery. Andrea says yes. Excuse me. I know there are lots of apps now that help people do that, that people like to use. So you may have used it with some technology, with some apps before in the past, or you may have had somebody help you with it. I started doing guided imagery, guided meditation as a chaplain. Alex says I have not. Oh, good. I'm gonna help you experience it. I'm not really sure when I started using it for myself, but as a chaplain, when I started working as a hospice chaplain over 10 years ago, I started doing this as I went to see patients at home. And a lot of them had trouble breathing just because of their condition, but also just the anxiety and, the grief that they were experiencing and everything. And this was the very first guided imagery book that I bought. It's called Setting the Scene. Still one of my favorites, but you can see it's very used, like it's super old. But it has some good meditations on here. And the one that I'm going to use today is called The Lake and the Ladder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some background music to help you relax. And if you're sitting down, which I imagine you are, put both feet on the floor, uncross your arms and your legs. You can close your eyes if you want. Just follow my lead as I read this meditation. It's going to take about 10 minutes. And imagine with me. And if something distracts you, that's okay. Just as you can come back to the meditation. Visualize before you a tranquil and placid mountain lake. And see how there's not even a ripple on the surface of the water. The lake is a perfect mirror. Look at the reflection of the mountains on the still surface of the lake. And just see how the white, fluffy clouds in the blue sky are exactly mirrored on the water. The entire scene is one of absolute tranquility. And now with your mind, ripple the water a little bit, making a few little waves, watching the ripples go over the whole lake, reflecting, distorting the reflection a little bit. And now with your mind, bring the surface of the water back to tranquility so that the lake is as calm and perfectly serene as it was before. And now, because anything is possible in your mind, visualize a letter in the center of the lake. A long golden ladder that reaches out from the surface of the lake through an opening in the clouds. And now, step onto the surface of the lake, and because you're creating this scene, and you can do what you like in it, you find that you can actually walk just a few inches above the water. And to your happy surprise, you are light and airy. So as you're walking on top of the water, walk all the way to the base of the ladder. And you can actually do it. In your mind, you can do anything. And as you reach the base of this majestic golden ladder, you look up at the portal at the top of the ladder, and you see the most beautiful, radiant golden light. And the light is warm and inviting. It makes you just want to climb up the ladder and feel more of the light. So go ahead, you take a step up the ladder. Now another. And then another. Good, you just keep climbing slowly, steadily. And as you're climbing, you're feeling more and more of this amazing light as you ascend. You find that your climbing is actually becoming easier as you go higher. And all you want to do now is enter that golden light and feel it all around you. So you come up a little higher now, a little more. And you are now very close to the top. Now as you approach that opening, feel the light pouring through you in waves of healing energy, more wonderful than you ever thought possible. And now, as you raise your head through the clouds and enter the realm of the golden light, it seems to be shining everywhere you look. It flows over your head, over your face, bathing you in soothing peace. So you keep rising until you are now completely above the clouds, standing in a new world of lovely peacefulness. It is like a warm bath of bliss, perhaps as you felt as a little child. So you look all around and you feel it, knowing that there's no one here but you. And you can stand anywhere, any way you like, with open arms and accept the healing energy that's pouring all over your body from all directions. As your body is soothed by this healing balm, feel that you are continuing to get lighter and lighter, your whole body beginning to absorb this wonderful energy. Imagine every cell of you drinking up this light until you are sparkling inside and out. And feel as if you are actually merging into this light, becoming part of this light that you love, the peacefulness that you sought. Stay in this joyfulness as it becomes a real part of yourself. You're now filled with that light. We're going to return to the top of the ladder, taking the light with us. So you step on the first rung, just above the clouds. With a sense of completeness in your heart, you begin to step down, step by step. To your happy discovery, you find that the feeling of the light is staying with you. It has become a part of you. So you continue slowly now, descending step by step until you arrive at the surface of the lake, where you turn and face the shore from which you began your journey into light. Now once again you walk over the surface of the water, returning to the shore. And as you get to the shore, standing on the shore, you see before you the great panorama of all creation, one that you did not notice before. You see the trees of the forest, the flowers, the animals, the birds. And you see too a great valley with its cities of people and activity. And you realize you have an overflowing abundance of energy to share. And feel how natural it is to give what you have received. So mentally, you open your arms, smile, and radiate that feeling that you have. Giving it to everything you see, and knowing that all who come into your thoughts are receiving a great gift as you pour out your light and your love and your energy to all creation. Knowing you have a special treasure to share, an unlimited flow of life and happiness. And there's a world of people waiting for the peace and universal gift that you're ready to share. Now, when you're ready, you can start to bring your awareness back to the room where you're at by wiggling your toes a little bit and your fingers. And then slowly, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. This meditation that I read is written by Alan Colhan from his book, Setting the Scene. We don't have a whole lot of time left, so I hope that was helpful, the guided imagery, and I sincerely hope that just having this talk and talking about different ways that you can reframe your thoughts and tend to your physical self, grounding yourself in the present moment, has been helpful to you. And so I want to give you a couple things for watching this call. I'm going to send you a link to an audio of this guided imagery that you just heard, as well as the audio of another meditation from that book. Alex says, lots of new and interesting info for me. Thanks. Great, Alex. So I'm going to send you another audio too from this book called The Peaceful Me. So you'll have two different options that you can play at different times. And like the centering prayer, the more you practice these relaxation exercises, these imagery exercises, the easier it is for you to get into a relaxation state, because your mind learns and remembers, and your mind gets trained to rest a little quicker. So it does get better as you practice to be able to relax and to really focus on the imagery. So you get, those are the first things, the two goodies. And then I wanted to tell you about something that I've been busy creating, which is the 40 Days Fuller Guide and Community. So what it is a period of 40 days guide for reframing ourselves, so reprogramming our thoughts and helping us focus on one theme of the day with one practice in that theme. So every day of the week has a different theme attached to it. So we've got Meaning Monday, Truthful Tuesday, Wish Well Wednesday, Thankful Thursday, Freedom Friday, Surprise Saturday, and Sacred Sunday. So Freedom Friday is when we practice the theme of releasing the things that hold us hostage, that steal away our joy and our ability to be engaged, to enjoy the present moment. So worry is one of those things that we're going to be practicing to release on Friday. And the reason why it's one a week, so you're not overwhelmed with trying on all these different practices every day, just makes it easier and gives you a purpose for that day, so that we can start the kickoff. Oh, we're starting January the 1st. So it's a great way to kick off the new year with these new intentions.